Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and today I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a really cool and high quality firearm by Sig Sauer. This is the Sig P210 Target. This gun is owned by one of my local viewers and subscribers, Paulo, who has been so generous and nice enough to let me borrow about 6 or 7 of his pistols for review. In most of his pistols, he likes to customize a little bit. So the only thing that is different about this gun from the way it came from the factory is the grips. He's added a set of G10 aftermarket grips, which are really exceptionally nice. They fit this gun really well. I do have the original set that he let me borrow and take a look at, and I'll show you guys about those grips in just a moment and talk about what I don't like about them. But the P210 series is kind of like the OG when it comes to Sig Sauer pistols. It has the reputation of probably being the most overbuilt, well-designed, and most accurate military-issued sidearm of all time. It became the official pistol of the Swiss Army in 1949 and draws much of its design and inspiration from a gun. I think it's called is it the M35, or anyway, it goes back to about 1935 with a gun designer by the name of Petter. But Sig adopted many of the design aspects and created this gun. Later it became, I think in 1957, known on the civilian market as the P210. It is an all steel framed, single stack, 9mm firearm that has inverted rails, very much like the CZ platform. It is, as I said, known for its accuracy. It is just overbuilt. The originals used kind of a, I think it's like a Browning linked system. I guess a semi-linked system, very much like a Browning high power, where you had locking lugs on the barrel. This is the modern version of the gun, where Sig has kind of streamlined and updated many of the manufacturing techniques. So this doesn't use the barrel locking lugs like a 1911 or a Browning high power. It actually uses the barrel hood, very much like a Glock or a CZ, like P09, or just a very modern pistol. And does that detract away from its accuracy or its build quality? Absolutely not. Now, I know many purists are going to look at this modern iteration of the P210 and they might foo-foo it. They might say, it's not as good as the originals that were all hand-fit. I personally argue that this is probably a better pistol from a construction and manufacturing standpoint, because these are all made on the highest quality CNC machines with all the latest metallurgy and knowledge of metals and machining and firearms technology and tolerances. So in a way, I think these are actually better quality pistols than the original Swiss ones. Although the ones that are from Switzerland always will command a high collector's price. I see pretty ragged out ones at probably about the $2,500 range, and the pristine rare examples of rare variants going all the way up to $6,000 or $7,000. It is absolutely crazy the prices that some of these pistols can go for. They did also, for a short time, I believe it was 4 years, produce one of these guns in Germany at the Sig Sauer plant before they closed it. It was called the P210 Legend. I actually have one of those as well, where they retained the original safety design but moved the magazine release. Now, this is being an American-made 210. They've really kind of modernized it for the American shooter, where the original 210s would have had a heel release in the back, and the safety would have been mounted closer up here where the slide stop is. But we're so used to frame mounted safeties and slide stops and magazine releases where they are in, Glocks 1911s, that Sig moved all the controls of this gun to where I think American shooters would appreciate them. So some of the internal parts and the designs of those parts will not be interchangeable with the older designs. But as I said, I don't think that's necessarily a detraction away from the quality that this pistol is. So how does it shoot at the range? It is an absolute joy to shoot. When I have brought my other 210s out and had people shot them, I have to warn them about this. And this is one of those things, if you're ever going to pick up any of the 210s, you have to be aware of the trigger. And not because the trigger is bad, but because the trigger is so good and it is exceptionally light. And I say exceptionally light. It is like 3 pounds. The way that this thing breaks, it is like just pulling on a feather, and you feel the wall, and just a little bit further, it drops. It is, I would say that 3 pounds maybe. And so if you have somebody that's maybe used to more of a combat style trigger, you know, something in the 5.5 pound, 6 pound range, you could actually get a negligent discharge with this firearm. It is a single action only gun, which means that the hammer has to be cocked for it to go off. So if you have a hammer down on a live round and pull the trigger, nothing is going to happen. So it's, in that way, it's kind of like a 1911. So the trigger you've got to be exceptionally careful of, and that's what I think makes this such a fine competition and target gun. Now, being the target model, originally it came with these grips right here. Now, this is a really kind of fat grip, lots of angles, lots of curves in it, designed to really kind of fill up the palm swell in your hand. It's designed, as I said, as a target grip. And personally, I find it to be too large and uncomfortable. It's just too big. Even though I have kind of bigger hands, I do like the feel of minimalist grips. So I really think that what Paulo did with this pistol and change out to these G10s is actually a huge upgrade. But if you don't like those grips and don't care about the adjustable rear sight, which is also in the target model, you can get the P210 standard, which is what I have. And it's more close to the original kind of military design of the gun. Not really, but it doesn't have those kind of target features. The price point is just a little bit less. It has a standard set of grips that just kind of wrap around just like the G10s here, but they're just made of wood versus the G10 material, and don't have all of the excess material like you do on the target grips, which, as I said, I just kind of prefer. But after shooting this, I think that the same internals and the same trigger mechanism goes both into the standard as goes into the target, so you don't get any less accurate of a firearm buying the standard version. So from a shooting standpoint, this thing is spot on. It is crazy how accurate this gun is. This is just one of those high-end guns that's going to outshoot you, and any mistake at the range you make is going to be your fault, not the firearms. The build quality is outstanding. The fit and finish, outstanding. The whole slide action feels like it runs on ball bearings. It's like shooting a B&T gun. It's just that well machined, and even the older ones have that same feel. So the construction, when you hold this gun, you feel like it is a substantial piece of machinery. So it is an older design. So it's a single stack 9mm gun, single action. I understand why modern militaries would not carry this today, but in its time, this would have been the pinnacle, I think, of military sidearm technology. But for us on the civilian side, for target shooters, for sports shooters, this thing is still just a beast of a firearm. So high quality. I really can't put it into words. You really need to go out and handle one. Now, if you ever get to handle any of the originals or the Legend series, the Swiss or the German-made ones, you'll know what I'm talking about as well. But Sig does not disappoint with the US-made ones. They really take their time. They got checkering on the front strap. It is just awesome. So let's go over the controls real fast. So we have a standard magazine release button just right here. This just drops the magazine as you would expect. So I don't believe any of these magazines are interchangeable with the older designs. You do have the frame mounted safety right there. The D10 on it is extremely strong, so it's like a 1911, so you can carry this cocked and locked if you wanted to. And of course you have the slide mounted slide release right there. So all the controls are where you would expect them to be. But let's talk about what I mentioned before about the frame mounted safety and having it on for carry. I would definitely not recommend this gun for carry. When you are in a defensive situation and have to pull your firearm, I prefer to have a more of a tactical standard trigger in a gun, because if I'm going to have to pull that gun, I definitely do not want to have a negligent discharge or to fire a round when I am not ready to pull it, because after all, that should be a last resort. It's one of the advantages, I think, to the heavier kind of combat triggers. This thing having a target trigger might be just a little bit too light. So you're amped up on adrenaline. You might have an intruder in your home, or you're out somewhere. Someone could be attacking you or your family, and maybe you can diffuse the situation by simply presenting the firearm, and that can stop the threat, they go away, and everybody can walk away from the situation with their lives. But when you have a trigger like this, you might be panicked, or an inexperienced shooter would have their finger on the trigger, and it being so light, you just have it there, a little flinch, you're scared, it goes off, and you don't want it to go off. And that could be a bad situation. I did hear that Sig was going to come out with a carry version of this gun, so it was going to be a shorter framed version. I don't know if the magazine capacity was going to be altered in any way, because you'd have to have a shorter frame on the grip. I don't know if it's going to be full, like a full-size grip. I don't know. I had heard about it, but I've never seen one in the wild or seen anybody review it. So maybe they didn't make it and put it out yet. I don't know. But if they don't do anything about that trigger, I do not recommend this gun as a carry gun. Now, as a competition gun or a range gun, absolutely. This would be one of the finest guns that you could have in those situations. As I mentioned, the fit and finish is awesome. It has the modern nitride finish, which is probably more durable than the original blued finish. As I mentioned, the machining that goes into it is just top quality. If you don't care about the adjustable rear sight and these grips, as I said, go with the standard version, I think, but the Target version is awesome, especially, as I said, if you are really a competition shooter, this would probably be the option to go because of those adjustable rear sights. It comes out of the box, I think, ready to go. There's not many modifications that you would need to do to this at all. Just the trigger is so outstanding. The sights, outstanding. It would just be the grip. You're just going to find that right grip for you. Maybe the Target grips aren't for you like they're not for me, but they could be for you, as I mentioned. You just need to get some time on the range with them and see what you think. But yeah, this is just one amazing, amazing firearm, super high quality, and I cannot sing its praises enough. And I'm so excited that Sig brought back out the 210 series. Very different than the 220 and everything that came after it. But yeah, it is just fantastic. So as you can see, I've just been singing its praises constantly. So on my rating sheet of stars, you know, where I go from 1 through 5 stars, how do I rate this gun? As this particular gun sits, 4.75 stars out of 5. And I know you guys are gonna go, you didn't give it a perfect score. How dare you not give it a perfect score? Well, notice the gun had to be changed for it to fit my hand better. If you get the Target, it's going to come with these grips. And so I'm going to rate it based off of what would come in the box. So if I say, hey, it's you know, the 210 Target, and you go out and don't like these, well, I'm just giving you my personal opinion. As I said, I think Paulo made the right choice in going with these grips. He really did. But if you buy a stock, 4.75 stars out of 5. I could definitely live with it, but I'd have to change out the grips, and because I got to do that, you get docked a little bit on my rating scale. But the firearm, ultra high quality. If you've never shot one, go shoot one. These things can be a little bit on the pricey side, and they don't make them all the time because they're not Sig's biggest sellers. And right now, with all the crunch going on with firearms and ammunition, they're pretty much sticking to manufacturing their most popular firearms at the moment. So you can still find them. It's not like they're super or ultra rare or anything, but you might have to pay a little bit higher price point because of that rarity. So there you go. So that is my range report on the Sig P210 Target, one of the finest American-made pistols made today. There it is. Awesome gun. Go try one out. I don't think you would be disappointed. So there you go. 4.75 stars out of 5. So let me know if you have any questions, and do any of you guys own any of the Sig P210 series? Do you own an original P49 or any of the other variants that I think it was 2 or 3 other countries adopted as their military sidearm as well? I think Denmark was one of them too. So, well, there you go. So let me know if you have any questions. And as always, thanks for watching.